Mark. How you doing?
Great.
Good. I want to start off from the beginning of your life. So, can you tell me about your childhood, like what you were like as a teen growing up?
Oh, I don't know. I was very much into sports. You know, that's where I got most of my fun and most of my positive feelings, I guess, about myself was how things went athletically. But, you know, I was a pretty good student, though. I mean, I did okay, but that isn't what drove me. You know, athletics really drove me the most.
Great, great. How about your father? How did you view your father growing up?
Well, I just thought he was a good man. You know, he was a guy I was always pestering to get him to go out and play catch with me or something like that. You know, when he came out from work, I'm sure he was tired. You know, but he'd go out there and play ball or whatever, you know, it was. And I knew he was a good man. I knew he was an honest man. I knew he was a hard-working guy. You know, I got to know him better probably after I left the home, but I always loved him and always knew he loved me.
That's great. Okay. In college at the University of Miami, did you play football there?
Well, I was on the team. I played some, but I played quarterback at Miami during what most people would consider the Jim Kelly era.
Oh, yeah.
So Jim Kelly was basically doing all the playing. I was doing most of the watching. But I was on the team, and I played some, but not a lot.
Gotcha. Tell me about your first coaching job.
Well, really, my first coaching job was at Pope. Let's see, what was it? Pope John Paul
Really?
II in Boca Raton, Florida, for just a season. I actually got in after their 2 days were over. I just got cut from the Miami Dolphins as a free agent, and I was looking to get into coaching in January. As a matter of fact, I was on my way to Florida State in January of '85, but in '84, when I got cut from the Dolphins, I had a couple months to kind of kill, and I was asked to come out and try to help at Pope John, and I don't think I helped much. We were 0-10, so
Oh, wow.
wasn't much of a year.
Wow.
But in '85, I became a graduate assistant coach at Florida State.
Okay. So how did you get the opportunity coaching for Florida State?
Well, Coach Bowden was the head coach there, and Coach Bowden had recruited me out of high school, and he knew of me, and he also knew that I played for the University of Miami, and I know he liked a lot of things that Miami was doing, throwing the football and things of that nature, so I'm sure he wanted to kind of tap into that. And I had already written him about the possibility of becoming a graduate assistant coach, and one of his assistants left in a timely fashion for me. He left to take a job at East Carolina University, and then he had a graduate assistant coach move into that full-time position, and that left a graduate assistant position open. Also a quarterback's coaching position open, because the quarterback's coach is the one who left.
Gotcha. Okay. I read that one of your players died, and
Right.
while you were at Florida State.
Right.
How did that affect you?
Well, I mean, it's heartbreaking when a player on your team dies, you know. I mean, especially, you know, right in the middle of a football season. And so that certainly had an impact on my life. But you know, it was a meeting afterwards that Coach Bowden had spoke to the team about eternal things and about what it meant to become a born-again Christian, and I had heard all those things, and I had actually had some pretty strong seeds planted back in my college days. I was very close to becoming committed to the Lord back then, but I just wasn't quite ready back in college. I was a little bit worried about what my friends would think. I was a little worried about trying to be perfect before I became a Christian. I thought you had to be perfect before you became a Christian, and I thought, you know, that God might have a different plan for me than the plan I had. I was really worried about, I really thought that he was not going to maybe let me be this, you know, superstar quarterback I wanted to be. Maybe he was going to have send me off on some mission trip somewhere, you know.
Right.
So back in college, I didn't do it, but when Pablo died and then Coach Bowden began to speak to the team about those types of things, it hit me hard again in the heart, and the Holy Spirit really convicted me that day that it was time to submit to Him.
What did you do to accept
Yeah,
the
well,
Lord?
I basically Coach Bowden was talking to the team and pointing to a chair where Pablo would normally sit, and basically talked to the team about the fact that Pablo was gone and that they were all about 18 to 22 years old, that they probably thought they were going to live forever,
Right.
just like Pablo probably thought he was going to live forever, and he didn't. He was gone, and he asked those guys, if that was you instead of Pablo last night, do you know where you would spend eternity? And that's kind of what got me to really think about, what if it was me last night? Where would I be right now? And I didn't really like the answer, so I knew that night. I prayed and thought about what I was going to do that night, and I knew the next day I was going to go in his office and see him about accepting Christ, and that's what I did. I prayed for my salvation.
Nice.
With Coach Bowden right there in his office.
Sometimes I just don't know what I'm going to do. I work 50, 60 hours a week and it's still not enough. All I want is to give my kids the breaks that I never had. A real chance at a better life. I want to give my wife something more than a life of cooking and cleaning. She's not a maid. She's a real woman with her own hopes and dreams. When life kicks me in the gut, I find real answers in this. This is a whole lot more than those Sunday school stories about David and his slingshot. There are real answers to real problems. Answers to my problems. Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I say rejoice. Sure, I've got my share of problems. Who doesn't? But if you spend your whole life thinking about your problems, you might just miss out on some of the good stuff. Read the Bible. It's got the answers.
This message brought to you by the New King James Version of the Bible and by this television station.
Jeffrey is 11. He's never climbed a tree, never chased a frog, never made a friend outside his neighborhood. Until now. Every year at more than 50 Salvation Army summer camps around the country, Jeffrey and thousands of other children enjoy a week of fun, growth, and learning in beautiful and spiritual settings. For many children living in the chaos of America's inner cities, Salvation Army Summer Camp is their first chance to enjoy the adventure of the outdoors, the magnificence of nature, and the warmth of new friendship, all under the caring supervision of Salvation Army mentors and staff. This summer, help make a child's dream come true. The Salvation Army Summer Camp Program. Doing the most good for kids.
Now that you're a Christian, what changed in you after making that decision, that important decision?
Well, I think I was very self-centered, like most people. We worry about ourselves, and to a certain degree, we need to worry about certain things. But everything was revolved around my life, my career, my this, my that. And I began to learn that it wasn't just about me. That it was a lot more about trying to become a servant to Christ and a servant to other people. And it was a transformation that didn't happen immediately, but over time, I learned to be a lot less self-centered and a lot more Christ-centered and a lot more others-centered. I think it's probably the biggest change as far as how I look at things, how I see things.
Gotcha. That's great. How does your walk with the Lord influence your coaching style?
Well, I think that it affects everything I do, really. I try to do things as honestly as possible. I try to be as fair as possible. I try to do things in such a way that it would glorify God. I mean, I want God to be pleased with what I do in every action. So, I mean, it just, I think it is in the middle of everything I do. So I try not to act a certain way at home or at church and act differently at the office. I mean, I try to do it all the same.
That's great. You sound like just a genuine, real Christian.
Hope so.
You said before that you want your players to be good fathers.
Right.
Why is that important to you?
Well, I think it's crucial. You know, I think that God certainly designed marriage, and God has called, you know, men that do marry to become good husbands and good fathers. I think that He expects us to love our wives, you know, just as Christ loved the church, willing to lay down our lives for our wives, and I think that He wants us to raise up our children, you know, in a way that He'd be pleased. So I think it's a very crucial role, and I think if all men would do that, you know, I think we'd be a lot better off right now, because there's probably too many kids growing up without a father figure.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Tell me about your family. You have a special story about how your family came together.
Well, of course, my wife and I were married fairly normally, and and we had 2 children, the usual way, I guess you could say, but we did add a couple more children about 5 years ago through adoption. We ended up going to Ukraine. My wife, Catherine, spent about 30 days in Ukraine. I ended up being there about 8 days to get everything done. And we already had Jonathan, who's now 14, and David, who's 9, but we have Zach.
Okay.
We've added Zach, who's 8, and Anya, who's 7. And we got them when they were about 2 and 3 years old.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
that was
great.
It was good.
Who gave you the idea to adopt? I mean,
Well, we had some friends at church that had adopted from the orphanage that we ended up going to. They had done it, and they were in our Sunday school class. We also had my wife's brother and his wife were adopting younger children than we were, babies really, from the same orphanage, and they were sending some footage back. And they saw one boy in particular that they thought would fit in real good to our family, you know. And so we were looking at tapes of him, and then we started to spot Anya. And so we actually went for a boy named Andre, and we were going to get Anya when we got there. And as it turned out, somebody had already taken Andre.
Oh, wow.
And so the next young man that God put in our path was Zach, who his given name was Ruslan. And so his first name is Ruslan, and we gave him a middle name of Zachariah, and we call him Zach. So that's about how it happened.
it's a good biblical name.
Yeah, well, and the thing too is we just felt like, you know, God is really calling His church to take care of the poor and the needy and the orphans and the widows, and our country does a really good job of being generous, and our country does a good job with social services, and I think that's outstanding. But you know, God does ask the church to take care of these people who need help, and we just felt like we needed to do our part.
That's great. So you felt personally responsible for what God says.
If it's in His book, we try to live by it as best we can.
Definitely. What's it like being a father with all the responsibilities as a head coach?
I'm just as father like anybody else, you know. I mean, we got a football camp going on this week, and I got 2 guys in the camp, and you know, I enjoy watching, you know, my sons, just like any father would, and I worry about, you know, how's it going to go when they spend the night away and all that kind of thing. I mean, I'm just a normal dad. I like to go to as many Little League baseball games and choir events or whatever we can get to. I just have got to be purposeful about carving out time. We try to. We don't start our staff meeting until 8:30 in the morning to allow every coach to get up with his wife and kids and help them get to school if they have children. I actually, you know, drive our kids to school every day, and so I'm able to be a part of that part of the day, you know, and then we carve out as many dinners as we can throughout the week during the season, and then in the off season, there's times we can do things that other guys may not be able to do. So I think it works out pretty good, and our kids don't know any different anyway, so
Right, right.
it's good.
So, what are the fun parts of being a father who is a coach? Do you get to see them
Well,
after the
I
games?
think I think there's times that they can be. Oh God, we can take our boys on an away trip. We might allow our older boys to fly on the team plane, you know, to a game or something like that. They might be able to be on the sideline of a big game where some other kids may not get a chance. And just, you know, we'll have family night over here where we have a meal with our wives and children, all the coaches' wives and children, and our players. You know, everybody eats at the same time and gets to know each other. So, I mean, our kids get to hang around our players, and our players get to hang around our kids. You know, I want our players to see our coaches as husbands and fathers, besides just a coach. Mm-hmm. And I want our children to see the players and get to know them and like them, so they don't resent them because you know their dad spends so much time with these players, and they feel like it might be competition for them, which it really is not.
Right, right.
Don't want it to be anyway.
Mm-hmm, definitely. What differences do you have in your parenting style from your father?
Oh, I don't know. I never really thought about it.
Okay.
You know, we're just trying to raise our children to be good people. You know, we're trying to raise them to at least have heard the gospel and know how important it is to Catherine and myself, and we know that we can't decide for them, you know, whether or not they're going to follow Christ or not, but we know that they've heard the gospel, and we hope that we're living a life that when they look to us, they'll know it's genuine, and one day the Holy Spirit, you know, will convict them to come to know Christ, you know. But that's really all we can do. Try to prepare them to be off on their own, you know, because everybody's called sooner or later to leave and cleave to their wife or their spouse, you know. Mm-hmm. So we're trying to prepare our children for the day that they have to leave us and cleave to their spouse.
The depth of this kid's preparation, there's no doubt in my mind he's very aware of the significance of this putt.
There it is, a win for the ages.
A father can change the world, one child at a time.
To all those who give birth to, homes to, or just give thought to people adopted as infants, thanks for considering adoption.
Without a father in his life, he'll be twice as likely to serve prison time. Even if you don't live with your kids, your emotional and financial support gives them a better chance.
I'll be the best friend you ever had.
Her daddy left home this morning.
I'll be there.
Forever.
Wait and see.
She'll be twice as likely to get pregnant in her teens. 37% more likely to abuse drugs.
'Cause I love you.
Even if you don't live with your kids, your emotional and financial support gives them a better chance.
The best friend you ever had. Our fellow man, history will write the story. America will always stand.
How does being a father at home help you to be a better coach?
Well, I think that coaching is an awful lot like parenting in a lot of ways, especially when it comes to dealing with issues of discipline and things of that nature. I think think our goal when we discipline our children is to teach them a lesson, to teach them to do things right, and everything that we're trying to teach them, we believe is for their own good. And the same thing is true with our players. You know, if they do something, if they make a mistake, we certainly don't want to throw them out of the family. It's a little bit different, and then there are times that you may have to drop a guy from the team if he is not willing to conform and to what we're trying to get done. But our goal in discipline with the players is to hopefully let them understand what they did was wrong, why it's wrong, and how they can correct it. But as soon as they live through whatever punishment there might be, if any, then everybody's back on a clean slate and ready to go again. And hopefully they're better for it at the end.
That's great. How do you encourage your players? Let's say when they're not performing.
Well, I was, as we mentioned earlier, I was a backup really my whole career. I know what it feels like not to be the star. I know what it feels like not to achieve the goals that you might have set, and how disappointing that can be. But we try to build these guys up in such a way that we're really working on the total person. I mean, if all we do is teach them how to block or throw a football or tackle real good or whatever it is, or win games, I mean, that's all we've taught them, then we failed, in my opinion. I mean, we want to build them up, physically, mentally, and spiritually. And anything that we do physically and mentally is kind of mandatory at Georgia. I mean, when it comes to going to class, going to study hall, going to workouts, go to practice, all these things that we ask them to do in regard to the body and the mind, it's a mandatory thing. But when it comes to spiritual things, everything has to be a choice that they decide on. Do they want to go to this event or that event? It's completely up to them. It's a voluntary situation. But if they do want to grow spiritually, it's there for them too. And but we believe that we're all made of the body and the mind and the spirit. And until all those phases of your life, grow, you're probably missing something.
That's good. Okay. How do you share your faith with your players?
Well, I just, again, my goal is to, I'm hired to coach football and hopefully build good men. And when it comes to my faith, I certainly don't hide, what I believe, but I'm hopefully not cramming anything down anybody's throat either. I hope that I'm living a life that is a good representation of what Christ wants, and hopefully that will make some type of an impact on the players, But other than that, I'll pray for them from time to time and things of that nature. And and there may be an event that they come to that I may be speaking about spiritual things, but again, it's something that they've got to choose for themselves.
That's good. So, okay, that's good. And how do you keep your faith fresh? How do you keep it growing and alive?
Well, I try to get up every morning and get in His Word and pray, and then I've got a group of men I get together with every 2 weeks for prayer and some growth and some accountability. We've got my wife and I are in a small group with 3 other couples that we meet on Thursday nights to do a Bible study and grow. And of course, we go to church and hear the Word that way. I mean, there's a lot of books I've read, pertaining to how to grow your faith and things of that nature. So, just constantly trying to do that. I mean, try to have my radio on the right dial and listen to good things,
That's good.
So just those types of things.
Do you have a favorite scripture?
Well, yeah, I would have to say Colossians 3:23 and 24. Whatever you do, do your work heartily for the Lord rather than for men.
That's
and
good.
Knowing that really God's in charge of everything. And if we live our lives that will be a life that's well pleasing to Him, then I think we'll be fine. I think anybody that is in authority over us on this earth, I think they'll be very pleased with the outcome. You know, that's the kind of employee that I think people want to have, someone who's going to work extremely hard for the highest authority that there is. Because when you do that, you do it whether you think someone's watching or not.
Mm-hmm.
You know, any human being's watching or not. You know, the Lord can always see everything you do. So if you're working for Him and for the glory of Him, then it pretty much handles everything in your life.
That's good. And just to wrap it up, would you like to say anything to fathers, sons or daughters, to inspire them on Father's Day?
Well, I would tell fathers to love their wife. I'll back up on that. I mean, you've got to get. I think that the man's got to know God first. You got to know God first. You have to have a relationship with the Lord, and if you have that, then you're much more equipped to love your wife, and that is what I would say second. Make sure you love your wife like Christ loved the church. Make sure you're willing to sacrifice for her. Make sure you're ready to die for her if need be. You know, and then from there together, you know, take care of those children and raise them up the way they ought to be raised. And then after that, do your work heartily for the Lord. You know, that's what I'd say.
That's great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mark, for being here with us. You're definitely a blessing.
Well, I've enjoyed it.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Good to see you.
Thanks, Mark.